Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Come on in. Come on in. I think we good. I think we good. To anyone that's coming into the chat, if you can put a one, if you can hear me, and my volume is doable, I appreciate it. One, if my audio is cool. So yes, thank you for your patience. Sorry for the mishap on the first live. We're gonna go ahead and get off into this live. Peace and blessings, everybody. Okay, so I'm hoping I am being heard. I'm not really sure what's going on. Okay, thank you, baby. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. I'm not really sure what's going on with my stream. Is really cutting up today. Okay, so we got some effects. My audio is good. Blessings. Thank you, Phoenix. Hey, beautiful. So good to see you. I appreciate y'all. Come on in, come on in. Because we got to talk about these eggs. We got to talk about, I mean, that's just scratching the surface, of course. You know, I already got some method to the madness of the discussion at hand. It ain't just about the eggs, because, truth be told, yeah, it ain't really that big of a deal for me. But, however, um, the rabbit hole kind of go deep. You know what I mean? Kind of go deep. So I just want to let's touch on that real quick for y'all that are coming into the stream. If you just tap the like button for you, girl, I appreciate you. Thank you to all of the new subs. I appreciate y'all. Definitely make sure that your notifications are tapped to all. Notifications are on, so whenever I go live or upload a video, you get notified, right? So let's get off into this egg shortage. It's been a hot topic. The prices are going through the roof. The accessibility has gone down. You got a lot of consumers facing rising prices and dealing with the scarcity in all of the stores. And then we have an issue with the fake eggs and the real eggs comparison too, because we're going to cover some of that. We definitely going to touch on that. And while it's easy to blame supply chain disruptions, and we're going to talk about that too, because I think it's multi-layered and multifaceted as to why, whether it's real or it's not, right? It's real to us because when you go to the store and go to buy eggs, the eggs are high as hell, right? So you got these major corporations out here that are controlling the poultry industry from the chickens on down to the eggs. And so they have been increasing prices. And guess who always gets the burden? It's the consumers, it's us, while they reap massive profits, right? So the result of all of this has been a growing sense of frustration for a lot of us, right? Especially for families trying to navigate already inflated grocery bills. So when you deal with, I'm sorry, I thought I was on camera, y'all, hey. So when you're dealing with all of these different avenues and all of these different aspects, dealing with we're just talking about eggs, okay? We're not talking about the bread, the flour, the sugar, the milk, the dairy, the cheese, the meats. So not only do we have to deal with the increasing inflation on all of these different items that our families use from day to day, we are also dealing with, okay, are we eating real food or are we eating fake food? You know who I envy? I wouldn't even say envy. I just want to acknowledge them. And when I grow up, I want to be like them because I would love to say that I grow my own food, but I don't. I got caught up and now I'm trying to make it do what it do. I'm trying to position myself. But in the meantime, just like many of us, I gotta go to the grocery store. But I have been utilizing my farmers markets and my small farmers, and they can be a blessing. I'm telling you, if you live in any kind of rural areas or you living in any areas where you have access to farmers markets, please definitely utilize that resource. as a support for the
Yeah.
farmers, as
Yes.
well
Well, thanks for having me.
as making sure that y'all are getting some real food. And even though the prices are still a bit higher than what we're used to paying for, they got costs. They have feed, they have to maintain their crops. They have to deal with inclement weather conditions. Look at like yesterday, I don't know about y'all, but yesterday it was almost 70 degrees where I'm at. 2 days before that at night, the lows was in the 30s. I'm trying to figure it out. That cannot be easy on the crops at the farms. It cannot be easy. Okay. So we're gonna talk about some solutions, but we're gonna get off into some of the issues too, y'all. I had all my videos and stuff uploaded on the first live, but if you just bear with me and be patient, I only got a few, and I'm gonna go ahead if you just give me a minute, and then we'll definitely um, get it started because I guess it's a presentation, but it's an order that I want to go in because I'm telling you, these people are tripping when it comes to these grocery stores and all of these chains, and you got the farmers out here doing the hard work, the ones, because we're in a position, most of us don't have the land, or know if we do have the land, some of us just don't know how to really cultivate it, or we don't have the manpower and the hands on deck to be able to cultivate it. And that's where we really need to get on 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 our square with. And I'm telling you, because in a minute, if you think it's an issue with the eggs, we're gonna have issues with other stuff as well. We've already been dealing with issues. If you just look at history, it will tell you where the future's going, right? So we got 2020, and we got the China lab, with the C-19 and all of that. And I don't think personally, and I got to be kind of, you know what? It is what it is. I didn't create these narratives. I didn't create these stories. And I did not create our reality that we're currently living in, right? But I can speak on it. And until I'm told differently, or even if I'm told differently, I'm still going to say what I need to say. And I'll just deal with the consequences if there are any. But what I want to say is that you just look at history repeating itself. We got people like when a lot of people chose not to participate and take that jab, right? And so now they're like, okay, well, enough of them didn't do it. So now we're going to have to permeate the food chain. We're going to have to, if they're not going to voluntarily do it, and we want to, we want to kind of minimize the backlash, we're going to have to be underhanded. We're going to have to be covert about the situation. We're going to have to move methodically. And basically, we got the elitists and the 1% and the most powerful walking around here with the mafia tactics. Okay, where you think the mafia tactics came from? Who do you think they pushing up on? They pushing up on the farmers. They pushing up on people that definitely have something to lose, and that's definitely who they're going to approach, right? So I want to start off with showing. Okay, so I don't know what regions everybody is living in, but they do have, everybody got a Walmart, so that's all over the country. You have some grocery store chains like Aldi's, Lidl's, LIDL's. You got the Publix's, you got the Harris Teeters, you got the Smiths on the West Coast. So there's a lot of different chains, but when it's all said and done, there's a lot of those chains that definitely are owned by bigger entities, right? And corporations. Hold on, y'all. Give me a second. I'm coming with it. And we're going to put up the first video. Okay, so I already did that one. Remove that one. Okay, let's start off with the fake eggs. Let's start off with that. Okay, so then we can kind of progress. And I like to get to the solution oriented aspect toward the end, but we gotta look at the issues, because not only are they charging an exorbitant amount of monies for 12 to 18 eggs. They're limiting the eggs, okay, especially if they real eggs or if it's a high traffic location, whether it's a farmer's market, a store, an actual small farm. People are having to limit eggs because now where there's a market, there's opportunity, right? So if there's a shortage, then you got people that's gonna go in there. They got the money up front to say, "Yeah, I want all the eggs you got," and then they go and resell them and make a profit on that. So there's a lot of the people that aren't going to be able to access and get the eggs that they need. So again, I know we're talking about eggs. Everybody on here may not eat eggs. It may not be of concern, but take notes. It's what I'm saying is going to pertain and be pertinent to whatever you got going on. Because if it ain't eggs this week, then it's probably going to be bread, yeast, sugar, or flour. And I know we all eat that because most of those ingredients are in a majority of our foods, right? So without further ado, shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate y'all coming in. Love my mods. Thank you to all my new subs. Hit that like button and let's go.
I just think I'm finna make some breakfast. This is fucking plastic. The whole top part is plastic. All this is plastic. I just cooked the fucking egg. This plastic.
Keep watching.
The only real is this yellow shit. Even the bottom, this is plastic. This is fucking plastic. Look at this shit. This is plastic.
There is something up with the eggs. It goes well beyond just the feed and the yolk being on the outside. Something is up with the eggs.
It's like
This woman boiled them.
WTF is that? What is that? What is that? I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm not eating nothing, and I'm causing all kind of ruckus. Because that ain't just going in my mouth. That's going in my people's mouth. That's going in my family, in my bloodline. Y'all tripping. Y'all are tripping. And then on top of that, eggs that look like this, they're not coming at a discount. They charging premium prices for fake ass food. Let's go.
And they came out this deformed with a internal yolk that's rubbery instead of pasty. Look at this crap.
This are those rubber eggs, honestly. Can you believe that? It's so gross. And these are from Eggland, okay? Has this ever happened to anybody where your eggs turn out to be rubber and hard? Look at that. They kind of bounce. Oh, this is so gross.
Oh, nah, last time I checked, eggs ain't supposed to bounce. Shout out to Mel. Mel, I am going dark, okay? But you know, you can't do that right out the gate. I might lose some folk, okay? I'm already trying to build, but I'm only going to be telling the truth. I'm only going to be putting it out there the way it's presented to us, because at the end of the day, there is a real issue right here. And I believe, my personal opinion, last time I checked, I'm entitled to my personal opinion, that this is a manufactured situation. This is not a real dire situation. We in 2025. We in February of 2025. They've been pushing this narrative since the end of 2024, trying to bring it into 2025. I don't know if it's quite going the way that they wanted it to go or they anticipated it on going, but people are woke. People are paying attention. People are talking. You got these social media platforms where they pushing all these different types of narratives and information, and at the same time you got people out here showing their real lives and their real situations, their real experiences, and they putting a camera onto it and uploading it to these little social media platforms. So I just want to do my part, because most people that I know, eggs are, unless you're a straight vegan, because we're going to talk about some possible alternatives toward the end of the live as well. So stay tuned and stay dialed in, because eggs are not the only foods that you can eat, and it's definitely not the healthiest, especially from based off of what we're looking at. Eggs ain't supposed to bounce. Okay, they're not supposed to melt. They ain't supposed to be plastic. They're supposed to listen. You know how eggs supposed to go. When you boil eggs and you go to peel it, half of it ain't supposed to be connected to the shell. There is a cycle of life that is very consistent if it is not messed with. If it is messed with, it's going to tell on itself.
From Aldi. Wait, there's more. This is also
She said these eggs were from Aldi. So I don't know who shops at Aldi's and who buys eggs at Aldi's, but this is from Aldi.
an egg from Aldi. I don't know. I'm a little suspicious of their food now. I felt pretty confident about their food, but now, not so much.
So I had to give you a visual with that, and we had to break that down because, listen, again, it'd be different if you knew what you was eating and they put disclaimers on these products, but they're not doing that. They're passing these foods off as if they are real, and they are charging them as if they're organically made and directly distributed from a farm source, right? So we cannot ignore that. Now, I'm going to ruffle some feathers and step on some toes, but I got to tell the truth. I got to tell the truth, and or at least my truth and what I believe to be true, right? So there is an issue with a lot of the farmers complaining that the commercial feed that they have been feeding their chickens has stopped their chickens from laying eggs. Okay? This woman and her farm and her chickens, with her chickens having 9 eggs, she could tell her story better than I can.
Nearly 30 something years of raising chickens, I have never gone without eggs, not even just one. And since before Halloween, I have not gotten a single egg until about a week ago. And I switched the feed that I was giving.
Okay, I don't mean to cut her off, but I didn't want that to slide past us. She's okay, no, I'm gonna dial that back. She said that since November, her chickens haven't been laying any eggs. Soon as she switched their feed, the production has started to reignite. Okay, she's not the only one. If you go on different social media platforms, and there may even be some information on YouTube, you'll find all you need depending on how far you're willing to search, but it's out there. The information is out there. She is not the only one that is saying it.
Nearly 30 something years of raising chickens, I have never gone without eggs, not even just one. And since before Halloween, I have not gotten a single egg until about a week ago. And I switched the feed that I was giving. I no longer am feeding chicken feed. I have switched my girls to goat feed. Steel cut oats, black sunflower seeds, and goat feed. I have to say, there's something to this. If I have to put my little tinfoil hat on, it's kind of weird.
Okay, so she went several months with no eggs, commercial chicken feed. There are many different farmers that are saying and giving the same experience that she has said. It has slowed down the production of eggs. Why would they do that? Why would they give, if something is organically produced from the earth and it's not altered, it's not tainted, it's not modified, then what would be the purpose, right? I always say follow the money, and many other people do too. Not going to discount that, but I'm just saying, I personally, to me, money is always the motivation, along with greed, right? To me, they kind of go together, or they definitely go together. Let me rephrase that. And that is problematic. So, speaking of greed, we got, again, most of us source our eggs and most of our foods from local grocery markets. And they come from farms. They come from somewhere other than they're imported or they're distributed to the grocery market. So that means that they're not the original source of our food, which means that it's the farmers. The farmers are definitely, shout out to the farmers, to all of the farmers that care about our people. They care about people getting organic food, untainted food. They are being pressed on and pressured into an cooperating for a specific agenda or agendas, being plural. I believe it's plural. But what I will say is that they're caught, a lot of them are caught between a rock and a hard place. And that's just the real of it. So we just went through what last year, bunch of the farms, you got chickens being burned, or plants that hold chickens being burned, which in essence means that the chickens are being burned. Our food sources are being definitely attacked, right? They are being regulated, they are being monitored, they are being controlled at the end of the day. Shout out to the chat. We got Together We Break Production. Peace and blessings. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate you being here. We got Miss BO91. Hey, babes, coming on in the chat. Appreciate you. Got the beautiful, of course, Phoenix in the building. Angel B is in the building. We got shout out to Shirley Kirkland. My brother Mel Dub is in the house. And if I missed anyone that typed in the chat, and to my bush watchers, just keep watching. I promise you it's gonna get good. You're gonna learn something at the end of the day. You're gonna learn something. So the next little video is a video of a gentleman that is a farmer, and he has actually gone viral, but he is absolutely getting ready to tell us from a farmer's perspective, and as of that specifies in dealing and producing eggs from chickens, that this is his experience.
There before the supermarkets put their story across and cancel everyone else out. So when you go into a supermarket now, you might see that there's a bit of an egg shortage. So not many eggs on the shelf to buy, not free range, not organic, nothing. So you're struggling to find eggs. Supermarkets are going to tell you this is because of avian flu, which, to be fair, there has been a lot of cases of avian flu. But do you want to know the real reason why there's an egg shortage? It's because the supermarkets won't pay the farmers for the eggs. So the supermarkets have upped their price for you, the consumer, but they haven't filtered that price increase down to us, the farmers. So our cost of producing these eggs has skyrocketed. Feed, electric, the price of new birds, that's gone up. But our price of eggs has stayed the same. So we physically can't afford to produce these eggs. So currently there's been 8 million less free-range hens ordered for next year's flocks.
That's for next year. He said 8 million. He's going to tell you how many are short this year, or this quarter, I should say, right? Currently, 8 million is projected for next year, a shortage, and he is speaking, let me reiterate, per day. Per day, okay? That's a lot of eggs in a 24-hour cycle. No wonder they are being focused on and honed in on, because you got to use eggs to bake. Well, you don't have to, but most culturally and out of availability, our country, and not just here, but all over. You got the UK dealing with, you got Australia having issues with eggs. You got, unless you are a farmer and you have your hands on some chickens and you can control your egg production, you don't have to go to stores in order to accrue eggs, buy eggs, purchase eggs. You don't even know if they're real, what the true source of their eggs are, because they're going to be branded by corporations. So you're not going to know where those eggs come from and what the true source of those eggs are coming from. But when you're speaking on 8 million per day, that is an astronomical amount. And eggs have gone up over 300% in the past year. So 365 days ago, the price of eggs was down 300%. So that means that they're costing 3 times as much as they did a year ago.
So that's just under 8 million eggs every day that we're not going to be producing. So that's 8 million eggs less every single day that we don't produce. And we're already 3 million eggs short of being self-sufficient. So the UK have to import 3 million eggs every day to feed the nation. And
So he just said it. 3 million a day they're short from not having to outsource and buy them from other sources. Okay? That's a lot of eggs. Follow the money, y'all. Follow the money.
now we're losing another 8 million birds because the supermarkets won't pay us. And they're going to blame the farmers. They'll be like, oh, well, the farmers should just stock them and produce you great British food. But we can't afford to. If the supermarkets paid us a fair price for our eggs, then we would stock our sheds and there would be more sheds going up and the UK could be self-sufficient in great British eggs. But the supermarkets won't pay us. So if you can make any sense of that, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. But yeah, the current egg shortage isn't really due to avian flu. It's because the supermarkets are refusing to pay us a fair price for our produce.
That's a shame. That's a shame that they are capitalizing off of an agenda that is being pushed by some other than themselves. And we're talking about the grocery stores. And I just want to touch on that for a while. I'm going to spend a lot of time on it because I'm going to be right, direct, and to the point. The fact of the matter is that these grocery stores have been making hand over fist while they crime victim because they have been utilizing and capitalizing off of the opportunity to adjust the prices to meet their desired bottom line at the risk and at the behest of the consumer. Now, the problem that I have, again, you've got a lot of people in this country that are on fixed incomes. While, again, just on the topic of eggs has gone up 300% in the past year. When you have people that are on disability, on Social Security, on retirement, on a budget, you have rent that's gone up almost 18 to 20% in this country in the past 2 years, maybe even the past year. I could be wrong on that. We're talking about necessities here: food, water, and shelter. They have found a way to monetize the water to where that is the only water source. What is bottled water? Unless you are in a position to seek out a water well, to have a water well, maybe you have a neighbor that has a water well, there may be a local church in your area that has a water well. But if it has a corporation's name, and sometimes you got to look at the small print and the fine print, but the point of the matter is they have monetized everything that we need and taken control over it to the point where they can charge what they want to charge because it is needed to sustain life. These grocery stores are out of pocket. Not only are they rationing the eggs, but again, they've gone so far up in price that a lot of people are foregoing even buying them because it's not in their budget. It's not something that they can afford. It's not feasible enough to put in their kitchen. I used to buy flats from the farmers markets, package them up, divvy them up, put them in a refrigerator. We'd be good for at least 3 weeks, maybe a month if everybody ain't hungry at the same time, right? Now it's like you gotta really be paying attention. I saw Together We Break say $12.99 in California. I've seen them as high as $11 for a 12 pack, and in some cases an 18 pack. So if I see that price for an 18 pack, I'm gonna grab them. 6 eggs. They'll break the little dozen in half and then stick them in there for the little older people that live by themselves, or somebody that really don't need that many eggs, or they don't eat them like that, right? Grab them. That's over $5 to $6. So we are really in a situation now. I wanted to bring these little videos and these clips up because we're going to get deep, right? And I'm going to do, y'all got to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to do a little intermission. But when I come back, we're going to shift and we're going to move into something definitely deeper. And I'm going to show receipts. I'm going to show receipts because this ain't just about the grocery stores being greedy, even though they are. This is not just about the fact that we getting fake eggs, even though we are, whether they're plastic or rubber, just like the avocados and other different types of foods that they feel like they're able to camouflage. Cabbage can be plastic, rice can be plastic. We got to be mindful. That's why at the end of the day, the most optimal scenario is for us to be able to control our own food and go back to the barter system. And I know that may be deep and too deep for y'all, but I'm telling you, that is what I am working toward. Positioning me and my family to where I know the sources of the food. I have and grow certain types of food that I can exchange and barter with my neighbor on. If they got the chickens with the eggs, I got the basil and the okras and the cabbage and you know what I'm saying? It takes a community. I was watching Rachel this morning. Y'all go if you're not familiar with Writers for Life. She had a great live this morning, and it wasn't that many people up in there, but y'all missed out. Go check it out. It's on the link is on my community wall. It's on a whole different topic when you're talking about neglectful mothers and children being abused and neglected and all of that. But I brought that up for a particular reason, right? Because my point is these children that were in this woman's home, she neglected them for 5 years before somebody said something. And the sad part is the people that said something was the landlord that was getting ready to evict because of non-payment of rent. No family, no family friends, no uncles, no TTs, no grandmas. We have lost our core family, where we hold one another accountable, where we reinforce one another, where we are cushions for one another, where we compensate, where our brother, our sister, our auntie, our uncle, our grandmother, our grandfather, our nieces, our nephews, we got a generation that's coming up that's technology savvy. You got old heads like me that need help from time to time, right? There's a lot of people that are not technology savvy, just like they don't know nothing. These kids don't know nothing about farming. And I'm talking about collectively. They don't know anything about the value system of having a core family. And I will even extend that to say that beyond core family, what about a tribe? What about you don't have to be related to these people through blood, but if you establish familial relationships. So if you act like family, you treat each other as family, you respect one another as family, you will hold one another accountable at some point. There are many benefits. That's why there's been such a hard and expensive agenda to dismantle the core family, right? So when I say that we have to get back to the land. We have to get back to the core principles and the foundations of the Bible, of the old yesteryears, of our ancestors, that we gel together and we say, you know what, we don't need the system. And if you know what the system is, but we don't need the system to put us in position to be self-sustainable. We can do this on our own, but we have to change the mindset. It has to start with the mindset or the relationships aren't going to change, right? So, Mel Dove said, is there a difference between brown eggs and white eggs? Not particularly. But what I will say, and somebody can correct me on this, because I've seen brown eggs were not available when I was a kid. But they were all white. And then when I became a young adult, then I started seeing brown eggs surface in the grocery store. So I started inquiring, like, what is the difference between brown eggs and white eggs? And they lay, do you have a chicken that'll lay both? They're all different colors, but it's a marketing technique at the end of the day, Mel. Because brown eggs have always been marketed as being a healthier egg, a more elite egg, if you will, a more desired egg. And so there's a separation, but I believe that is all marketing because, like I said, in that video that I showed, you can rewind or go back where the woman said that as long as she was feeding her chickens commercial feed, that they were not laying eggs. When she switched to her goat feed and she specified the ingredients in her goat feed, then they started laying eggs. She was picking up white, like a tan, brown. I don't know. I would assume that, a couple of them come from the same chickens, but definitely I believe it's a marketing technique. I don't believe that there is a difference. And now they're at the point where they've given us plastic and rubbery eggs. So there ain't nothing for them. Like the Easter eggs, you can paint any color you want to paint at the end of the day, right? But when it comes to the brown and the white, I like many other things. I believe it's marketing, right? So let's see. Yeah, thought so. I grew up, my grandparents' chickens laid brown eggs. I always thought they were healthier. See, I don't know 100%, but I never felt no different whether I ate a brown egg or a white egg unless it was psychologically or it started through a psychological or a mental phase, right? So I actually am going to play while I go to the restroom. I'm gonna play this one video. Give me a second to my computer is kind of lethargic. Hold on a second. Okay, so this local farmer is saying he can't keep eggs. Hold on, he can't keep eggs. He's listen and local, all right? Because once you learn about but he also distributes to farmers markets, right? So he's gonna tell you while I step out for 1 second or two, how long it take me, and then I'll be right back, y'all.
I've had a steady customer base for years, so I was already doing a good business. But I used to have enough surplus eggs to sell to retailers who resold them at farmers markets and stuff like that. But I have been selling out every day, and I've had at least 5 new customers a week since this egg shortage started. So I haven't had any extra to sell to the retailers at all. I fill the bucket with water. The eggs are like gold right now. I've had to ask people to keep it to 2 dozen because I'm afraid some people have been coming in and buying all the eggs and then reselling them. The profit margin is very slim. I have to buy, the feed is so expensive, and just the cost of maintaining the facilities and everything else, it's just, there's not a lot of money in it at all.
So when you talk about okay, so he was saying that he definitely doesn't have a high profit margin, right? Hold on, y'all. He doesn't have a high profit margin. So a lot of these farmers are actually doing it because they love to do it and that they care about their community. They care about the people. Now, I was in this next video I'm going to show. I was deep into the comments section because I wanted to get different people's perspectives of their experience, because people from all over the world watch Dr. Bird, right? And that's gonna be my next video, and we're gonna break that thing down, okay? Because he's got a gentleman on there that's getting ready to tell it. And he has receipts, he has history, he has a portfolio, and he has the ability to be able to be believable in his asset because he's done studies, research studies. I mean, kept documents. He's definitely just he believes in what he's saying. He knows in what he's saying, and he's convicted. And he is like, look, this picture is bigger than just the grocery stores. The grocery stores are just jumping on the bandwagon and on the train, and they're benefiting and they're gaining what they need to gain off and they're opportunists. So they're optimizing the opportunity to be able to increase their profit margin, if nothing else, in the eggs because of the hysteria that is attached to this bird flu or this other thing that they've been talking about, which was a couple of days ago. It's the first time I heard of it, and he's going to speak on it. But we're going to go ahead and shift, and yeah, no time better than the present.
Much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to speak, and thanks for taking the time to read my article. If we just use basic pattern recognition skills, we can see that what is going on now with bird flu is very close to an exact replay of what happened with COVID. What we see is a several-step process by which people intentionally are creating fear and creating a pandemic or attempting to create a pandemic in order to obtain some kind of control over us. This is clearly what happened with COVID, as you know, even the CIA has admitted now that the virus came out of the lab in Wuhan, that it was an engineered virus. Around 2012 or somewhere thereabouts, was found in a cave of bats in China and was brought to the lab and was manipulated for several years to essentially weaponize it. Late in 2019, that virus was released. Whether it was intentional or unintentional remains unclear, but it definitely came out of the lab. They allowed the World Military Games, which is an Olympic type event, to take place in
Squid Games. I digress.
Wuhan, China, of all places, brought all kinds of people from all over the world, allowed it to spread, and then by early 2020, it was declared to be this pandemic.
Okay, so I know that this is not specifically speaking on, hold on, y'all. Specifically speaking on the eggflation, but there is definitely a correlation and a connection. So I want to establish that, and I don't want us to forget, okay? You had Trump in office saying initially, at least that was the first time I heard it, was that it came out of a Wuhan lab. He was drugged, okay? Oh, he don't know what he's talking about. He's a white supremacist. He's this, he's that, da, da, da. Nobody wanted to give credence to that fact. Now, as he stated, the CIA has come out and admitted that it originated from a Wuhan lab, whether it was intentionally done or unintentionally done. When you want to know where you're going, look at where you've been. Look at the past to be able to determine where the future lies and what to expect so you can prepare for war, because we are in a war. I don't know the last time you done heard that, but I wanted to refresh your memory.
We had all of these civil rights violations, locking us down, not allowing us to earn a living in the name of protecting us from this virus. They have a countermeasure, and the countermeasure is to develop these vaccines. They could compel us, they could kind of coerce us into taking these highly profitable and turns out quite toxic vaccines. For what reason? Because they would make a lot of money, and because they would exert control over us to continue to take these vaccines in the future. So now,
money and power. Follow the money and the greed, and you will find the ones that have more money than they will ever be able to spend, them or their 3 generations, 4 generations out. But it's the power, it's the greed attached to it. It's the agenda, it's the outside purpose. So though this starts as eggs ain't nothing but a symptom of the illness of greed and power.
Now, let's fast forward to what's happening right now with the bird flu. There are multiple labs that have taken a previously naturally occurring H5N1 bird flu. They've been manipulating it in the lab, doing gain of function, which means trying to make it more transmissible and more virulent. And in fact, they're very aggressively trying to get it to jump species, which is there's no good reason to do this. Two of the prominent labs in the United States that are doing this are the Southeast Poultry Research Laboratory, which is owned and operated by our own USDA, is doing this crazy research in Athens, Georgia, and it's almost certain that this is the location by which the current circulating clade, as they call it, of this virus leaked out of. Now, whether it leaked out intentionally or unintentionally, I don't know, but we're pretty confident that's where it came from. And Peter McCulloch and Nick Hulscher and some other people have done some incredible work to trace it, incredible detective work to trace this down. They've published it, and no one's even bothered to try and refute it. Of course, our FDA is now claiming that they're doing all they can to contain this, when in fact, they almost certainly leaked the virus out. I don't.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember that saying that I keep hearing in my head, but it eludes me at this very moment. And it applies to Big Pharma, right? There's a connection here. You create the problem and then provide the solution. I've known, I can't speak for nobody else, but I've known that the FDA, particularly, I felt like they were exposed and really were showing their panties involuntarily during COVID. You got the CIA, you got all of these governmental entities that our taxpayers' monies fund, keep going, but we have no say-so as to the narratives that are being pushed, the lies that are being brought forth, or the untruths. And now you have these laboratories that I believe should be shut all the way down. And they are also being funded by taxpayers. And now we're not just dealing with the United States, we are dealing with this issue worldwide. This is a worldwide issue. You have multiple countries, and it typically, if you do your research, it is the biggest and most heavily populated countries that are having the same issues. How, Sway? How? How is it that United States and the United Kingdom are having such parallel issues at the same time? The exact same issue. Their eggs are high too. When the chicken farms were being disintegrated, they were having the same complaints as well. China is far as hell from us. They're having the same complaints simultaneously at the same time. This all cannot be a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. I just wanted to say that. Let's go.
I don't know whether it was intentional or not. The other lab, and there's multiple labs that do this type of gain of function research on bird flu that's really implicated in this, is at the University of Wisconsin Veterinary School. There's a guy, a Japanese national by the name of Yoshihiro Kawaoka. He's been there for many years, funded by all kinds of sources. He's funded by NIH. He's funded by Gates Foundation. There's all kinds of just really ill-advised stuff. President Obama, back in 2014, put a temporary ban on gain-of-function research in the United States. Some of the people that blew the whistle on him, you wouldn't believe. Paul Offit, who's one of the big apologists for vaccines, was one of the people who was so alarmed by what this guy Kawaoka was doing that even he blew the whistle on him. Anthony Fauci found a way around this largely by outsourcing the stuff to China for the coronavirus work, and to some extent just ignoring Obama's ban. But that's how bad these gain-of-function people are. Now you've got these leaked, lab-manipulated viruses that are out there. And fortunately, what we're seeing in the population is not as bad as they're advertising. Birds that are getting sick, occasional cows that are getting the virus as well, although the cows don't get very sick. I'm not aware of any. There may be some, but I'm not aware of any cow deaths. And 67 human beings in North America in the last couple of years have gotten this. And for the overwhelming...
Okay, so we can't just slide past that. He said 67 cases of the bird flu in the past couple of years. The way that COVID spread, there is no comparison. So why are we in the situation that we're in currently with these eggs? If the bird flu, 67 is, you can get 3 classrooms in a regular school, high school, that don't amount to 67 people. So why is this propelling such a dire need for us to be limited on our eggs? Now we have a cap where we can only buy so many at one time, and then we're paying 300% interest or 300% increase than a year ago today. When you talking about statistically and data speaking, why 67 cases in the past 2 years?
The majority of them, it's been conjunctivitis, it's been pink eye. There was one report of a person who died in Louisiana with the bird flu. They would not go so far as to say that the person died of the bird flu, although some of the media outlets claimed that, but that has not been stated. They are encouraging the farmers to do willy-nilly PCR testing on their flocks. If they test positive, what they're doing is mass slaughtering the entire flock if so much as one bird tests positive for the illness.
A PCR test.
Okay, let me let him finish.
Which has a lot of false positives. They have one positive, they will kill the entire flock. Some of these farms.
Y'all, we cannot ignore this as if it doesn't exist. So he just said, now there are chicken plants and farms that have hundreds of thousands of chickens, not just thousands. You have some large ones out there that have hundreds of thousands of chickens. PCR tests, according to Dr. Bird, he's saying that there is a history of a lot of false positives. They're known, those PCR tests are known to issue false positive results. If one bird in that entire facility comes up positive, which could be a false positive, they're going to take out the whole population of chickens. Okay? I just wanted to make sure that we understood what was being said, because that's something. Oh, my bad, y'all.
Clear, but it definitely came out of the lab. They allowed the World Military Games, which is an Olympic type event, to take place in Wuhan, China, of all places. Brought all kinds of people from all over the world, allowed it to spread, and then by early 2020, it was declared to be this pandemic. We had all of these civil rights violations, locking us down, not allowing us to earn a living in the name of protecting us from this virus. They have a countermeasure, and the countermeasure is to develop these vaccines. They could compel us, they could kind of coerce us into taking these highly profitable and turns out quite toxic vaccines. For what reason? Because they would make a lot of money, and because they would exert control over us to continue to take these vaccines in the future. So now let's...
Money and control. They're synonymous, they're linked, they're connected, and they go together. Money yields power, yields control. This is what they want. They want all three. Money being the least, because they have enough of it. The power is the ability to exert authority over the masses from such an elitist position, from a smaller position. Control is the ultimate hoorah and the ultimate goal. It's a process. You can't have one without the other, control being the ultimate goal. You control the food, you control the people.
Fast forward to what's happening right now with the bird flu. There are multiple labs that have taken a previously naturally occurring H5N1 bird flu. They've been manipulating it in the lab, doing gain of function, which means trying to make it more transmissible and more virulent. And in fact, they're very aggressively trying to get it to jump species, which is there's no good reason to do this. Two of the prominent labs in the United States that are doing this are the Southeast Poultry Research Laboratory, which is owned and operated by our own USDA, is doing this.
So they wanted to jump species. So they wanted to go from the chickens to the humans. That's what the goal is. That's what they're working towards. The scientists in the labs allegedly are gearing towards. That's the goal, right? That's the vision. And it's being signed off by our own U.S. Department of Agriculture. To me, and this is just my personal opinion, these are just names of organizations that are funded by those in control to make it seem as if it's legit. While we're being entertained literally to death, we got all these different sports that are multi-billion-dollar profit houses every year. Keeps us definitely distracted. We got the celebrities. We even got politics. Between those entities, just to name a few, we're always immersed and got something to talk about. Something other than what keeps us breathing and what keeps us sustained as a human species. Our food, our shelter, and our water, and our air. They done messed the air up so bad that we got more people with asthma and respiratory issues than ever in history. It doesn't just mess with your respiratory system, it messes with us in every aspect of our DNA, from psychological to mental, to going down on a cellular level, and it alters our DNA. But we worried about who making it to the Super Bowl, who can dunk, who is screwing how many other people's wives. We got all these other things that we concerned about. We got people that are having cancer at an exponential rate. Shout out to Tashana. I'm going to reach out to Tashana. We got our sister Tashana for life actually going through, and I haven't had an opportunity. Hey, perfect timing, Selena. We haven't had an opportunity. I haven't to go through your live. I'm going to go through and I'm going to reach out to her, me and Michelle. I got a niece that was diagnosed with breast cancer that had a double mastectomy at the age of 32. Cancer used to be looked at as an old person's disease. But we got children's cancer centers and hospitals all over this country. I wanted to cuss so bad just now, y'all. What the fuck? What is really going on? Where is our attention going? Where is our fervor going? Where is our passion going? No disrespect to the bullshit. But when you click off, if you click off on this YouTube or other social media outlets, one thing I know for sure, two things I know for certain is that we all have some real life shit to deal with. Selena, they're not just doing something to the food. They've been doing something. You got Bill Gates that owns over 60%. That's over half of the farmland in this country. We talking about, come on now. I don't have to say no more than that. I don't have to say no more than that. Bill Gates and his foundation, and him and his, if I'm not mistaken, him and his wife are divorced. But his wife got the same type of ownership over the foundation that he does. But he owns over 60% of the farmland. China owns over 10%. You know what that leaves for the American people that actually pay the taxes, that actually keep this economy going? That's less than 30%, less than half. We got the U.S. Department of Agriculture. These are supposed to be entities. The FDA signed off on those jabs of all of the different sources. I'm not going to name them. If you know, you know. If not, go look them up. So you get no faith and no type of backing from me. I don't believe none of y'all. So I don't know, Selena, I think you just came in, but there was a video earlier in the stream where there was a woman that has a farm and she has chickens. And she said as long as she said she didn't, from Halloween, which was the end of November, to February, none of her chickens produced eggs. So she went from the commercial feed and she started giving her chickens the goat feed that she feeds her goats. And now her chickens are starting to reproduce eggs again. So it is no secret, and we don't need confirmation or denial from the sources that got their hands in the pot. We don't have none of that going on. None of that's necessary. All we got to do is look at real life situations. Use your logic, your common sense, and figure that thing out for yourself as to what is reliable and what is not. I didn't mean to become long-winded, but y'all, we got to really, there's some of us that are starting to see, or that have been seeing it. We have a few of those, and we still have people that just will not acquiesce to the fact that we are in a matrix. We are the pawns in a chess game. They laugh at us. If you haven't seen Squid Games, go look at it. I don't care if it is in China or originated from China and it's Chinese. The fact of the matter is we the squid in the game. Because this is a new world order.
Crazy research in Athens, Georgia, and it's almost certain that this is the location by which the current circulating clade, as they call it, of this virus leaked out of. Now, whether it leaked out intentionally or unintentionally, I don't know, but we're pretty confident that's where it came from. And Peter McCulloch and Nick Hulsher and some other people have done some incredible work to trace it, incredible detective work to trace this down. They've published it, and no one's even bothered to try and refute it. Of course, our FDA is now claiming that they're doing all they can to contain this, when in fact, they almost certainly leaked the virus out. I don't know whether it was intentional or not. The other lab, and there's multiple labs that do this type of gain-of-function research on bird flu that's really implicated in this, is at the University of Wisconsin Veterinary School. There's a guy, a Japanese national by the name of Yoshihiro Kawaoka. He's been there for many years, funded by all kinds of sources. He's funded by NIH. He's funded by Gates Foundation. There's all kinds of just really ill-advised stuff. President Obama, back in 2014, put a temporary ban on gain-of-function research in the United States. Some of the people that blew the whistle on him, you wouldn't believe. Paul Offit, who's one of the big apologists for vaccines, was one of the people who was so alarmed by what this guy Kawaoka was doing that even he blew the whistle on him. Anthony Fauci found a way around this largely by outsourcing the stuff to China for the coronavirus work, and to some extent just ignoring Obama's ban. But
I can't slide past that, y'all. So there was some laws and some bills in place and some legislation that was in place that limited the ability to be able, and I'm going to put it in my words, YouTube, this is my personal opinion and my personal wording, to basically put a plan in place to get the people in order, to get the people in their order, right? And they couldn't do that here on US soil. So what is being alleged is that Fauci said, I'm going to circumvent that. We're going to still get the Americans. We're going to do it with a country and a lab that's complicit with the powers that be that are on the same page as us. Okay? There's certain things I just can't let slide.
Virus around 2012 or somewhere about thereabouts was found in a cave of bats in China and was brought to the lab and was manipulated for several years to essentially weaponize it. Late in 2019, that virus was released. Whether it was intentional or unintentional remains unclear, but it definitely came out of the lab. They allowed the World Military Games, which is an Olympic type event, to take place in Wuhan, China, of all places, brought all kinds of people from all over the world, allowed it to spread. And then by early 2020, it was declared to be this pandemic. We had all of these civil rights violations, locking us down, not allowing us to earn a living in the name of protecting us from this virus. They have a countermeasure, and the countermeasure is to develop these vaccines. They could compel us, they could kind of coerce us into taking these highly profitable and turns out quite toxic vaccines. For what reason? Because they would make a lot of money and because they would exert control over us to continue to take these vaccines in the future. So now let's fast forward to what's happening right now with the bird flu. There are multiple labs that have taken a previously naturally occurring H5N1 bird flu. They've been manipulating it in the lab, doing gain of function, which means trying to make it more transmissible and more virulent. And in fact, they're very aggressively trying to get it to jump species, which is there's no good reason to do this. Two of the prominent labs in the United States that are doing this are the Southeast Poultry Research Laboratory, which is owned and operated by our own USDA, is doing this crazy research in Athens, Georgia. And it's almost certain that this is the location by which the current circulating clade, as they call it, of this virus leaked out of. Now, whether it leaked out intentionally or unintentionally, I don't know, but we're pretty confident that's where it came from. And Peter McCulloch and Nick Hulsher and some other people have done some incredible work to trace it, incredible detective work to trace this down. They've published it, and no one's even bothered to try and refute it. Of course, our FDA is now claiming that they're doing all they can to contain this, when in fact, they almost certainly leaked the virus out. I don't know whether it was intentional or not. The other lab, and there's multiple labs that do this type of gain of function research on bird flu that's really implicated in this, is at the University of Wisconsin Veterinary School. There's a guy in
Y'all, I don't know why this keeps rewinding. My bad. I know we done heard this before, so I'm gonna let it play a little bit so we can gain some ground because I don't have time stamps. But thank you for your patience on this. And I'm gonna say this: nothing is by coincidence. I really believe that there's going to be something, because every time I listen to this, there's something that I missed. There's something that didn't resonate with me. So we are in such a microwave society that once you hear something, you move past it. That's our problem. We don't need to be moving past all of this. We need to be slowed down enough to be able to digest the magnitude of what really is going on and how deep this thing goes. We are talking about our food. We are talking about our food. Our food affects our cellular, or lack thereof, cellular regeneration, and our DNA. It affects our children. It affects our grandchildren. It affects us. It affects our parents. It affects our grandparents if we're blessed enough to still have them. This is the level, and Selena said it. This is the level that these people are willing to go. Like they have no soul. They have no soul.
Japanese national by the name of Yoshihiro Kawaoka. He's been there for many years, funded by all kinds of sources. He's funded by NIH. He's funded by Gates Foundation. There's all kinds of just really ill-advised stuff. President Obama, back in 2014, put a temporary ban on gain-of-function research in the United States. Some of the people that blew the whistle on him, you wouldn't believe. Paul Offit, who's one of the big apologists for vaccines, was one of the people who was so alarmed by what this guy Kawaoka was doing that even he blew the whistle on him. Anthony Fauci found a way around this largely by outsourcing the stuff to China for the coronavirus work and to some extent just ignoring Obama's ban. But that's how bad these gain-of-function people are. Now you've got these leaked lab manipulated viruses that are out there. And fortunately, what we're seeing in the population is not as bad as they're advertising. Birds that are getting sick, occasional cows that are getting the virus as well, although the cows don't get very sick. I'm not aware of any. There may be some, but I'm not aware of any cow deaths. And 67 human beings in North America in the last couple of years have gotten this. And for the overwhelming majority of them, it's been conjunctivitis. It's been pink eye. There was one report of a person who died in Louisiana with the bird flu. They would not go so far as to say that the person died of the bird flu, although some of the media outlets claimed that, but that has not been stated. They are encouraging the farmers to do willy-nilly PCR testing on their flocks. If they test positive, what they're doing is mass slaughtering the entire flock if so much as one bird tests positive for the illness.
A PCR test, which has a lot of false positives, they have one positive, they will kill the entire flock. Some of these farms have millions of chickens, correct?
Correct. So they can kill hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of birds at once because of one or two positive PCR tests. That's why, this is important for listeners to know, that's why we have a shortage. The shortage is not because the birds are dying of the bird flu. The shortage is because they're being mass slaughtered if there's even one or two or a small number of positive tests.
Have you heard anything about this happening in smaller backyard farms, people having chickens in their backyards? Is that occurring in that environment at all, or is it just mainly the industrial size chicken farms?
It's an excellent question. I don't have a definitive answer, but what I would say is that supposedly this individual that got extremely sick in Louisiana caught it from their backyard chicken farm. However, what's causing the price of eggs to go up is this ridiculous policy of slaughtering whole flocks when you have one or a few positive tests. And of course, just to show you how dishonest the whole process is, they call it culling. Well, you can look up the definition of culling in the dictionary. It has nothing to do with mass slaughter. Mass slaughter is the opposite of culling. That's how dishonest this process is. And according to the sources I've heard from, we've spent our taxpayer dollars over $1.25 billion to fund this mass slaughter of these animals. So we are paying with our own.
So, okay, he was getting ready to say it. We paying with our own tax dollars the slaughter of our own food sources. How maniacal and diabolical do you have to be able to go to sleep at night knowing that you are responsible? If for no other reason, you are aware that this is going on.
Tax dollars to kill these animals, to drive up food prices, to make a shortage of eggs. And this is driving this whole thing, not the flu itself.
Basically, the farmers get paid for that loss from the taxpayers.
Correct. So the farmers have a perverse incentive, and I don't blame the farmers because the farmers are caught between a rock and a hard place. They've got the government coming in and telling them, we need to test your birds, but don't worry, if they test positive, we'll pay to kill them and we'll pay you at least market price, maybe more, in order to solve the problem. What it's doing is artificially creating a shortage. It's artificially creating fear. It's artificially creating a crisis. Instead of locking us all down and holding us hostage physically or metaphorically until we accept the human vaccines, what they're doing instead is they're destroying an important element of our food supply unless we allow them to mass vaccinate all these birds.
So that's really the agenda, is they want to mass vaccinate now entire farms. That's really what they want to do.
There's no other way around it because right before Trump took office, what did they do? They gave a conditional approval to Zoetis, which is a very large animal vaccine company, a couple of days before Trump was inaugurated.
Why are animals being why is there a need or a requirement for there to be vaccination companies and corporations for animals? Okay, so listen, I gotta take a pause. I gotta take a natural pause because the level of being so diabolical with that, in my opinion, alleged depopulation agenda is, on the surface, we looking at it as eggs being super expensive. But when you start delving and looking down that rabbit hole of where all of this leads to, greed, money, power, and control. They are struggling to control the current population. They don't want the old heads here. We the first to be annihilated, to be eradicated, to be out of the equation. And simultaneously, while they trying to get rid of the old heads, the elders, the wisdom, the encyclopedias of the way back when shit worked, when farming and owning and operating your own food sources, lands worked. That's not in alignment with their agenda. Simultaneously, while they're focusing on the old heads and getting rid of the old heads, they're trying to convert the children. They're making the children docile through the jabs, through the foods. There's so much estrogen in milks, whether it's almond, whether it's regular, they're modifying it all. You want to know why everybody, not everybody, the majority of the masses don't give pushback? Because for the past 30 years, they've been putting in the processed foods, and in the food supply that they provide for us to buy, it's a win-win situation. So they're getting rich, accumulating more wealth and power off of us by doing that. And at the same time, they're making the population more docile and less resistant to change, or more resistant. Less resistant to change. This is a problem. And I love how this man, because we're going to play some more of this. I think every word he said needs to be heard, digested, and meditated upon. Because one of the points that he makes, not to give a spoiler alert, but to emphasize and say, you know what? We cannot sit back idly and let this happen. There is no other way but to address this head on, to become proactive. Guess what that's going to take? That's going to take cohesiveness. That's going to take being collective. That's going to take us banding together and saying, as a unit, even if it's just on this one topic, and that's our food, we're not going to deal with this. You're going to have to do something different. Move around, go away, do something, because this ain't going to work. But as long as we remain complicit and quiet, and we keep going to the grocery store and paying what they're charging, not even knowing what we're getting, whether it's a real egg, whether it's been pumped with all kind of chemicals, whether it's plastic or whether it's rubber, we paying for it. How far you think this is going to take us? And for those that have children, you better be thinking about when your time is up, what's going to be left for your children.
The Biden administration gave a $590 million grant to our old friends Moderna to start developing mRNA-based technologies for bird flu. So so again, what does it come down to? We come down to it just like with COVID, a big payoff for Moderna to force us all to accept mRNA vaccines.
What do we really need to do to stop this? What are some things that need to happen?
We need to acknowledge what's going on. This is not a bunch of well-meaning scientists trying to stamp out disease. This is a criminal enterprise. This is basically a protection racket. You know, nice little farm you got there. It'd be a shame if anything were to happen to it. Don't worry, we'll.
Boom. A lot of extortion going on. When you got these powered entities coming against these family-owned farms, whether they're 1, 2, 3, or even 4 generations deep, they cannot go head up against the ones that's coming to them and say, get down or lay down. You know what it is, and I'm not going to spell it out. Either you get with the program or we burn your shit down.
Protect it. You know, and then we pay you off to do whatever we want with it. If Paul Offit could figure it out in 2012 and Barack Obama could figure it out in 2014, why on earth, after all this we've been put through in COVID, are we not realizing it right now? This gain of function research has to stop. You know, I've said in other places, you know, you don't save Tokyo by creating Godzilla. You know, and this is what.
Ooh, that's a bar. That's a bar. Even if a white man said it, that's a bar. You do not create Tokyo. But what he say, look, I don't want to mess it up. I really don't. It was so powerful, I forgot it.
Other places, you know, you don't save Tokyo by creating Godzilla.
Don't save Tokyo by creating Godzilla. It don't require all of that. Unless you have an agenda. Unless you trying to go somewhere with it. That is not, and you not being forthcoming, you not being transparent, you expecting for us to read in between the lines, draw our own conclusions. But again, one thing we have to keep in mind and remember, y'all, is that there are so many different things that have been in place for so long that by the time we wake up and realize it, in a lot of cases, it's too late. I hate to put it like that, but that's how it's orchestrated. That's how it's designed. Ooh.
And this is what they are doing. They're saying, we're going to create Godzilla so we can create a vaccine against Godzilla. What on earth are we doing here?
Unfortunately, you can't speak freely about certain topics, but I think things are going to change. Primary target needs to be shutting down these gain of function labs immediately because it's like, why do we need this? It's like you're producing weapons that are against humanity. It is completely criminal and insane to the nth degree.
So many people are embedded in this to some extent or another. And I think some people that are low to mid-level don't realize exactly why they're doing what they're doing. They believe that what they're being told to do is appropriate. I'll tell you just a funny story. One of the people who is a placeholder at HHS, or rather at the CDC right now, he was the former state health commissioner in Maine during COVID. So very much in line with the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that's stated on the CDC website is that he was involved back earlier in his career with bird flu mitigation in Cambodia. Now, of course, Cambodia is a relatively poor country in Southeast Asia where supposedly these viruses originate. The current recommendations in Cambodia, where about 95% of chickens are owned by family farms, you know, maybe 50 to 100 chickens maximum, is if your bird gets sick, you separate the bird from the rest of the flock. Preferably, you sacrifice that animal. Don't eat it. Wash your hands. Common sense.
One solution, too, is to have a lot more small farms and to start buying eggs from smaller farms, your local farmers markets. Find a local farmer because that way we keep things not so centralized where all of our eggs are in one basket, so to speak.
Yes, I agree. I'll tell you, though, one thing is that this is interesting. I agree with you 100%. Recently in England, which, of course, UK is just an absolute mess in so many different ways, but UK is trying to force people, I don't know exactly where it's at right now, but to force people to register any home poultry that they have. And the National Association for Veterinary Medicine, which is highly beholden to pharma, has put out a release recently that, you know, small family poultry holdings may be a risk to public health. So don't think that they're not going to come after your backyard chickens. You can't run and hide from this. We have to take action. We have to make sure that these people are stopped.
I really appreciate you doing the work, consolidating all this.
So that's what he's saying. What he's saying in essence is that we cannot sit idly by, and even if we have our own chickens and lay their own eggs in our backyard, and we have our own farm and we're sustainable, self-sustainable, that's not going to solve our issues collectively or individually. Because guess what? Once they deal with the bigger farms, the bigger factories, the bigger corporations or companies, then they're going to come after the smaller ones because they're not going to know how to, they don't know how to stop. They're not going to stop until they perish, or in their minds, which I don't believe will ever happen, they will have total control. No one man or no man that is classified as a man should have total control over another man, much less masses of other men on a worldwide scale. It's just not logical, right? Fear is subjective. Fear is going to mean something different for each and every one of us based off of our previous and past experiences. Whatever our triggers are, whatever moves us, is going to alter from person to person. At some point, we are going to have to unionize. At the very least, we are going to have to shift our mindset and say, you know what? At the end of the day, I will do without, and whatever I need, I will learn how to supply for myself. If it's just me and my immediate family, or if it's a tribe or a community, a small community of people that I have together. So let me just talk about really quickly before we wrap up. I appreciate everybody's patience. I appreciate your patience as far as getting my audio together and having to restart another live. But I always want to offer some type of solution. First one I want to offer is support your local farmers. If you don't live in if you live directly in a city ordinance and the nearest farmers market is 20 miles away, pick one day out of every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, like you get paid. Some people get paid, and go and stock up for 2 weeks and freeze some of your produce. That's if you can't grow it on your own soil, right? If you are a city person and you have to make decisions in order to make the adjustment, in the meantime, there are definitely things you can do. You can garden on your own terrace, on your own patio, in your house. Shout out to Miss Yo. Miss Yo has really been helping me and assisting me. I got at least 5, 6 different herbs growing in my little home, right? In my soil. So guess what? That may not be on a scale to be self-sustaining at this point, but it's on the road, and we're not going to starve if something pop off and I can't get to a grocery store, or if there are none available, or they don't have what I need. It's about surviving at this point. It's about self-sustaining at this point. There are egg substitutes that are out here. The vegans will know about it, right? Everybody else, maybe not so much, because they're not marketed, they're not promoted, they are not made common knowledge. It's something that you have to go searching for and you have to go seeking for. So one of the biggest things that I use is flaxseed. Flaxseed is filling. Flaxseed is a great substitute. It's a binding substance, just like eggs. So you can bake with it, you can fry with it, you can blend it with a smoothie. You can do so many different things with flaxseed that, like I said, have binding properties. Other things that have binding properties are bananas and things like applesauces. Maybe not the apples, but once you blend it into an applesauce, it's good to the palate. I mean, I don't know too many people, if anybody, that I know personally don't like apples. I know some people that are allergic to bananas and don't like bananas, but guess what? There are still other alternatives, right? Now, one thing that Miss Yo was talking about as well is she was talking about she get ready to buy some chickens. get yourself some. If you have a little bit of land, get yourself some chickens. Put some things, some proactive, because you got the crows and you got some other stuff, to be concerned about. Even if it's just a few chickens, you want to educate you and your family on how to be able to safeguard the chickens, to care of the chickens, what to feed the chickens. Stay away from commercial feed. That's just my personal opinion, right? There are so many different channels on YouTube of people that live off of the grid that give you the game for free. They give it to, even if you don't pay for premium every month and you deal with the ads, it's still free at the end of the day. There are less desirable options like egg powder. But then again, if it supposedly comes from eggs, at some point the cost on that may rise, but it still may be a little more reasonably, excuse me, priced than actual eggs. Because it's the actual eggs for me that's going and dealing with some, a lot of issues as far as price, availability, sustenance, all of that, right? You don't know what you're getting, if it's plastic, yada, yada, yada. Egg powder, unless they know how to, duplicate that into a different form and make it look like the real thing. I don't know nothing about egg powder. I'm just saying that could be an option for anybody that's willing to entertain it, right? Buy in bulk and store. You can freeze eggs, whip them up and freeze them. You can freeze anything and then use it for later on, right? So there's a lot of different ways. You can definitely explore your options and move around if you are living in an area where it's just not even worth it to you. They're not available. They're not available in bulk. Oh, one more thing I forgot: chia seeds. I love me some chia seeds. Great source of fiber, like the flax seed. Great source of fiber. Eggs are good in protein, but it doesn't help the gut health, right? So maybe this could be looked at as a blessing for some to segue into other areas and other alternative foods in order to help other portions of your body and achieve the same outcome. You can bake. Again, you can do so many different things, and it will definitely offer some fluidity in the gut as well as achieve the purpose for what it is intended, right? So with that being said, y'all, I appreciate everybody's presence. I know I've been a little long-winded. I know we had a little bit of a rough start. It's all good. I said what I had to say. I wanted to definitely provide some information, different perspectives as to what could be going on. Because if you follow the money, you're gonna get the answer. I'm telling you, it's just a matter of how deep the rabbit hole goes. Okay, so it is what it is at this point. I just wanted to definitely do my part because Dr. Berg was like at the end of his video, he was like, share, 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 share. And I thought, I know this is not what everybody in my sector is looking for, but I feel compelled to definitely share it anyhow, right? So I definitely just wanted to come through and get back to the bullshit, do whatever it is y'all do or we do, because I'm gonna catch up at some point when it's convenient, but I'm gonna handle my business first, right? I'm mind the business that pays me, then I get to the bullshit when I have some free time. If I have some free time, if not, somebody catch me up on it, right? But I definitely want to just reiterate before I leave, y'all, at the end of the day, we gotta prioritize. We have to prioritize and we have to put things in their proper order. We have to look at it through a clear lens because whether we have moments of peace and stillness and things that don't affect us directly, if you look around you, it's affecting whatever's going on is affecting somebody it's affecting somebody that you are connected to. It has affected somebody to the point where it could affect you. And put your bottom dollar on it that at some point it will. May not be now, may not be 3 months from now, may not even be a year from now. But there is something that's going to take place that's going to definitely directly affect you. And if it's associated with food, shelter, and water, I don't want to leave your spiritual food out. All of those things matter for our survival and for our peace and our sanity. And I absolutely don't want to just ignore those avenues and those facts, right? People, we don't speak on them enough, but I'm here and I'm speaking on it today, right? So, with that being said, y'all, I appreciate everybody. We got T-Rail in the building. Salute to you. Thank you for coming through. For those that are just coming in, or those that haven't seen the video from the beginning and you're watching the replay, please leave a comment after the video in the comments section and let me know what your thoughts are. I'm always interested in interaction and people that are from all over the world. It may hit somebody that isn't from this arena or this area that will be able to give some enlightenment on what they got going on. I'm telling you, you got the different pieces to the puzzle that make the whole puzzle. And we don't want to just make it centralized to our country. We want to definitely make this up because this is affecting the world. This is not this and many other things. Everything that's majorly going on at this point, everybody's feeling it to one degree or another. You may not know it, or it may not affect you obviously or in the obvious sense at this very moment, but a year from now, you may be revisiting this whole conversation, feeling totally different, be like, man, whoo, I saw it coming, right? So we got Ryan Campbell in the building. Salute, peace and salute to you. Dion Bernstein, of course, Miss Chicago. And we got the beautiful Celine in the building, y'all. I appreciate every last one of y'all. Thank you so much for coming through. And I'm going to let y'all get on with y'all day. I appreciate y'all. Peace, and I'm out.